you asked about the tradition and picking up any things from the elite athletes. Lasha, for example, when he rests, he always fully covered himself with a towel. So towel was on the shoulders and on his eyes to just don't see people, which he probably hates. I don't know. I'm joking.
Hi, Sergei. It's my pleasure to have you. Welcome to Evidence Strong Show. If you could briefly introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hi. First of all, I'm happy to be here and thanks for invitation because I'm a big fan of this account and I'm always reading attentively what's going on, what people say about all the researches. Sometimes I'm impressed, sometimes I agree, disagree, leave in my comments so I know what's going on. And thanks again. My name is Sergii Putsov. I'm Ukrainian. In the dark past, professional weightlifter, was a member of the national team of Ukraine. I competed in 94 weight class and my best snatch was 165 kilos and clean and jerk 200 kilos. I was a few times national champion, student national champion, blah, 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 but it was a long time ago. I done with professional weightlifting in 2011. I also graduated from the National University of Physical Education and Sports of Ukraine, where I did my thesis and I'm PhD in sports science. I studied how to build programming in female Olympic weightlifting, and also I did some education in International Olympic Academy in Greece about the Olympic sport management. Nowadays, I work together as a partner in the Alexei Tarakti company. He was Olympian in Beijing and London. I am programming director actually in this company, so most programming that we do, it's my responsibility, and also we do seminars together worldwide. And I work as a regular weightlifting and strength and conditioning coach, currently living in Poland, Warsaw, because of the war in Ukraine, because of fucking Russia. And that's it. I guess all other parts of my life I will be able to describe during our interesting conversation. That's briefly it.
Awesome, very impressive. So I invited you and we decided we'll be talking about the pre-competition kind of backstage training of athletes in the training hall. Elite teams come to Worlds, Continental Championships and Olympics, and they usually come a little bit earlier, a few days earlier, a few weeks sometimes, to train in the new time zone, in the new environment, and to prepare, do the last preparations for the competition. So you have been to so many competitions that your experience is vast. So I think it will be interesting to pick your brain on what's going on there, what you agree with, what you do not agree with, and maybe at the end, some advice for people who are maybe preparing to compete internationally for the first time. So that's the plan for today. Are there any differences to what athletes from different teams do in the training hall? How they behave? I don't know, how the training goes and so on.
Definitely, yes. I would say I attend the international competition as a coach, let's say with coaching experience, starting from 2015. There is no need to say about all competition, but I was at Worlds and Europeans starting from 2015. And luckily, I had an access to most training halls and the competition area because I was in the media team or I was as a part of national Ukrainian team. So, and for me, it's very interesting just to sit in the corner and watch how people train because it's also like education for myself. And I would say that yes, teams train differently, and from perspective of loads, I mean intensity, how big the training weights, and exercise selection as well.
I want examples now. So
okay. So examples. If we can go through the teams, for example, what will be on my mind that you can clarify, ask additional questions. For example, if we go through the elite team, as you put in the list of my question, let's say about the China. Let's say first of all, the Chinese male and female team, they train different because girls, they do usually more volume and more intensity, which is obvious what we know now about the programming. Usually girls train harder, and girls mostly always finish with something very intensive in pull and in squats, meaning that even like 3 days off for the platform, they can do insane squats insane pulls, insane overhead squats. What I saw, for example, at the last Worlds in Saudi Arabia, that most team members in female team in China, they love to do heavy overhead squats or heavy snatch balances up to 105, 110% of their best. And as I spoke with a lot of coaches, this is not about improving strength. This is more for mental toughness that, yes, I hold this weight in overhead position and I'm ready for this, and it doesn't smash in you. If we speak about the male weightlifting team, they don't go so high in accessory exercises like snatch and pulls, but let's say very traditional Chinese exercises that they do before the competition. It's a crazy weight front rack hold. It's more related to men than to women because, for example, Team Tao can do gigachat, they can do like 300 kilos front rack hold, and mostly we will not see this in any other team in the world.
How far from the competition day?
So I would say they cut everything crazy 72 hours before, but earlier it can be like insane. But for people who will hear this now and say, okay, China do this, I need to repeat, my advice, don't do this because you don't know what they did before and how long they what path they did to be able to perform, and the most important, recover after this killing stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. And in Team China for the last, I would say, 10 years, and this is good like compliment for Team China, they pick up a lot of, let's call it prehab stuff in training, like mini band training, activation, rotator cuff, hip mobility, and so on. And they do a lot of this thing, what they didn't do for sure like 7-10 years ago. So I didn't met any from China team who had a foam roller. Now they have everyone. Now they have a lot of rubber bands, like mini rubber bands. They do all the small muscle activation as before and as after the training. And this is very good. And also because it's a well-known fact that before the Beijing, they hired American rehab coach who worked for them for already 2 Olympic cycles.
Any other teams that behave very differently, you think?
It's very fun and awkward to see. For example, when Team Iran come, and the Team Iran always do like a group warm-up like in the high school. They stand, line up everybody, and there is only one athlete or coach, and they all together do wrist, neck, shoulders, all together. I never saw this in any team. There are teams who never do like a general warm-up. I disagree and don't like this, but there are teams that can come and put weightlifting shoes on, and the next thing that he will do, he will take the bar and start to do the snatch. And this also happens. For example, it often happens in Team Syria, in Team what else? Iraq. What I saw, some people like in Team Georgia, they just do very simple and very fast warm up, and they start to leave. Team Korea, by the way, they do very smart and very interesting warm ups and accessory stuff, and I can assume from the type of exercises that they do that they have a strength and conditioning coach from track and field, because most drill that they do is very related to sprint running. And what I also assume from the past 7-5 years, that a lot of Olympic weightlifting team started to hire like a separate position, a strength and conditioning or a GPP coach. For example, it exists in China, it exists in Italy, it exists in Poland. So it's a separate coach who do only like rubber band, prehab, stretching, mobility stuff. And he's responsible for this. In England, by the way.
Anything you have to say about British team or American team?
It's a definitely different teams. For example, what I can say in America, there is no such a definition like a regular constant training camp for the national team. They all train separately. They all have different training plans and different coaches. And let's say they meet all together with Mike Gatton and Piros Dimas a few days before they compete. So they have training camp very rarely, maybe like 3-4 times per week, not like in Team Armenia, who lives all the time in the training camp. For example, Team Armenia, as an example, they never do proper warm-up. Simon Martirasenkin came in the gym, do like this, then put 70 kilos on the bar and started to do snatch. Is it good or is it bad? I can't tell because he is a world champion. How he will feel himself when he will be 45 or 60, I don't know. I can assume, but I don't know. But this is what we see.
All right. Any other wild events you saw in a training hall?
I think it's not smart, but it happens very often when athletes started to play with the weights when they see rivals. And this happened. For example, as I already mentioned, there is always battle between Carlos Nazar and Nino Pizzolato when they are together. So for example, if Nino put 180 kilos for the snatch pull, it means that Carlos in the next set, he will do 200 for triple. And he will scream and he will say like, I feel good. He can take short off. I don't know they do this by purpose or just it's because warm blood, but it happened. What I also saw a lot on the backstage, and it happened when, for example, during the competition warm-up, I am in the warm-up area and I saw and I understand that this athlete, he has like 3 sets before going on the platform, and I see that he don't do his last clean and jerk attempt, and it's very interesting to me to see his eyes, his coach's eyes, and what's going on. Because some athletes, he like, okay, I will set up myself now. Everything is good. And other people, they start to panic. They start to run. Coach started to shout like, okay, we have 2 more sets. Let's try 90% more. And he don't snatch 90% again. And they absolutely upset. And now it's time to go on the platform. And we can imagine what's going on in their mind. So and it's interesting to watch because I ask myself what I would do. I start to remember what I did when it happened with me or with my athletes. So it's a nice experience to learn.
Okay, would you have any advice of what not to do when you or your athlete is coming to the international training hall? Usually the team is allocated, my understanding is the team has allocated time or some kind of brackets where they have to fit in. So they come in, warm up, and they have limited time to do the training. Do you have any
training or competition warm up?
Yeah, first training. Let's talk training first. So they are preparing for the competition. What not to do?
My advice, first of all, is to follow coaching plan. It's first. And what we must be ready at the competition. And I think it's a part of getting experience and be ready for this, that you should know that everything can go wrong just because it's life. And some people not ready for this mentally, and they start to nervous, like, I didn't get enough of sleep, the food was bad in the hotel, I did all my preparation on Iliko bar and now it's ZKC bar, and it feels wrong, it feels bad, and so on. Because for some people, they can't even get it in the mind, but when you come to the international competition, first problem that you will meet, it's a new bar with a killing knurling. Like killing, destroying everything, your palms and your shins. And the worst knurling, not the bars, knurling in my life that I met, it's ZKC and Uisak. It's death. You just take the bar and you understand that when you will come to 70%, it will be bleeding. And for this, you must be ready in advance because you need to clean this. It should mean clean your calluses, and not one day before the competition, like 5, 7, 8. Your skin must be ready, and anyway you have a risk to have this problem as in training as at the competition warm-up. And this is the bad thing that probably will happen with, I would say, 75% of all athletes. And it's always a big deal when you didn't have this experience and you are not ready for this mentally, because it's a problem when you need to go on the platform and you not only realize but you feel that you don't have skin here and here, and you need to go and lift. You can't say, maybe let's move clean and jerk to the next day. 30 seconds, come on.
So other bars always new in the training hall?
It can be an issue that in the training hall that uncomfortable. So for people who will be first time there, you should realize that it probably will be a cool venue, but it will be a venue not where you train and maybe few your friends. It will be 70 platforms where it will be 70 athletes at the same time, maybe where you will be the worst, the weakest. It will be a lot of coaches. Everybody will move around. Gonna be a mess. Romanian team for sure, or Italian, bring their speakers and will turn music that you hate, but they will do this. And in the moment now, I would say in the last few years, organizers realize that you need to put the platform in the chess mode, so you will not stand in front of athlete and will not meet his eyes. But for sure, when you will go to lift your 95%, some will come in front of you, like 1 meter in front of you, and will just speak on the phone, and he will not care about this. So you must be mentally ready for this, because as soon as you took the hook grip and got to the starting position, you will not be able to re-rack yourself and say, like, go and fuck yourself. You need just to live. And this is the part of the pre-competition training, and you must be ready for this. A lot of people, they don't expect, because they have expectation that it will be perfect environment because you are at the world. No, it will not be. In Uzbekistan, for example, it was crazy cold. The training hall was in the same venue like competition. It just it was wooden wall in between, and it was big competition venue, and doors were open here and here, so cold air was all the time like this. So everybody after the lift, they put a coat on. In the competition, it was warm. In the training, it was cold, and you must be ready for this. And you can do anything.
Okay, so you should have a plan in terms of coaching plan, what you will do there. You should be prepared for distractions because they will happen. You should be prepared for climate change, probably time zone. Do you have any advice with changing time zones?
Yeah, time zone, I would say from my students here, when I studied this in theory and then I started to apply this in practice, it's the one of most speculative question, because there is a theory of adaptation and there is a reality. And what we know about the theory of adaptation, if we have a time shift over 4 hours, we don't speak about the climate, because climate influence also very much when you come from winter to summer. But if we have time shift over 4 hours, the best shape that you will have, it's first 72 hours when you arrive to the competition. So usually what we know from the book, that you need to compete or in the first 72 hours or after the 21st day of the competition. This is the theory of how body react best. So it was described even in Platonov theory of sport, like 30 years ago, that if you have some supercompensation phase, you go to the competition, which has time shift over 4 hours, best shape that you will have in the first, second, and third day, 72 hours. After this, your shape and readiness in the muscle tone, in the neural system reaction will decline. After the 14th day, it will be on the lowest point, and then it will come back after the 21 day. It's if we have condition that you feel good, you are not sick, and so on and so on, just because of the time shift. And most smart people, they compete usually on the third day after they arrive into the competition. Or, for example, like now Misa Hassona did, probably most people know who's Misa. He is a guy from Qatar, Olympic champion. So they already went to Thailand, and they will stand in Thailand for 3 weeks, because he knows that this competition for him is even more important than Tokyo, because in Tokyo it will be less people and less competition level, and here is the last selection competition. So they will wait a month before to don't have an issue with the adaptation or losing the shape, and this is very important. But what we have in reality very often, that federation opened booking.com and found that the cheapest tickets will be if you will come a week before, and a lot of people will say week before it's good because you will rest, you will adapt, and then a lot of people, after the staying week in the new time zone, they can't come on the platform and they don't understand why they are dead. And probably you need to ask a question about the sport physiologist, to the sport physiologist, why it happens, because it's not well known, but proven fact about the adaptation with the time shift, and it's a good topic to study.
Awesome. That's very good. All right. Did we finish all the things you think are important? Sleep, climate, having a plan, being prepared.
I would say that if we discuss now the topic about first time competing in the international competition, we must have realistic expectation. And this is very important as for the coach, as for the athlete, because usually, and I would say it's normal, when I am an athlete who first time on the international competition, in my mind, I must do for myself a miracle. I must improve my PR, do 6 out of 6, be in the best technical, best mental, best everything. But expectation, it's better when it's a little bit below than way above. Because as I said, traveling, stress, time shift, a new bar, what else? Like unusual environment, because when you used to compete even at the national competition, when it's common gym with the common everything, because you have experience competing at the national level, when you come first time at the international stage, it looked very different. Lights, cameras, broadcasting, big empty gym, big full gym, wherever. I don't know if people heard this story, but when Piros Dimas first time went to the USA competition, it's a very nice story. Zach Talander told me a long time ago. So when Piros Dimas in 2000, I guess 8 or 9, first came at the international competition, announcer said, ladies and gentlemen, now in our venue, here is the 3-time Olympic gold medalist, Piros Dimas. People started to applause. In this weight class, I guess 10 from 15 people bombed out. It's a known fact. Just because they knew that somewhere in this venue there is a Piros Dimas. Here's about it. Go and live. And because people just not knew this fact, and now we can imagine what people feel first time when they come on the international platform, when there's like Olympic champion, people are screaming, you're out of time. That is why expectation, meaning kilos on the bar, should be smartly adjusted. Because even when I coached a guy from Hong Kong, he said, I did on the competition, in the training, 140 kilos easy. And I would start 140 or 39 if I competed at the local competition. But what's your advice? I said, let's start 131 or 132. And he did 3 sets and he was happy because a lot of coaches, when they don't have experience, they missed a very important thing, that we need to learn how to compete successfully. And for this, we need to give athlete an opportunity to do 3 of 3. Because when we decrease expectation and the weight of the bar, there is a chance that he will have a skill that it's okay to do resets on the platform. Of course, there is a different strategies. For example, a national USA coach, he told that this competition, he said, Mike Gatton, he said, we need a qualification total. So all the athletes will start high. What we had, 3 bombed outs in Olympic team, Kate 9, a boy, and someone else. And also Matty didn't compete because of injury. So it can be different, but if we want to make a good result for our athlete, we as the coaches, we need to keep it in mind.
Are there any cultural differences you think it's good to be aware of?
Definitely, there are some people and nations who are very open, ready for the conversation, like, for example, America. You know, the part of American culture always have a smile, always ask, how are you? We don't know for sure if this person care about this or not, but they will definitely ask. Or for example, like people from North Korea who are not communicating and they try to avoid. Of course, there is always a language barrier because from the other hand, South Korea, they are very positive, very open, ready to take a picture, but most of them, they don't know English. Or for example, Team China, in Team China, it's an interesting fact that no matter it's male or female team, there is always a special person. We say that this is person from KGB, like from Secret Service, that if you come too close or something's going on, in Saudi Arabia, it was a woman, which can come to you with a strict face and can say like no, go away. If you are a media or for you just random person, they don't allow you to come closer than. They can come, Team China, go away. Some like particular personalities, for example, like Miso Hasona from Qatar, it's no matter you acquainted with him or not, he will talk with you like you are his brother. Hey man, how are you? What's up? Happy to see you. Some people, for example, Lasha Talhadze, when you see him, it seems like he is tired of everyone, and this is obvious. He don't want to contact with anyone, but if you will come and ask for the picture, 99% that he will say yes. And on the picture, he will smile and then like, thank you, and he will go and sit back to his chair. So, and I believe it's normal because everyone want to have picture with Lasha. He used to this, but 100% he's not happy about it. And in Saudi Arabia, when we were, and it's very common for Muslim countries, they have schedule for praying, and it could be like all team is training. For example, they in the middle of the snatch, but when it's time, everybody will stand up, go to the corner or to the praying room, and will start to pray. And it's very common for them, and most people know this. And when we were at the Worlds in Saudi Arabia, even announcer said, like, ladies and gentlemen, for this 1 hour, we will not be able to turn music in between attempts because it's praying time for all country, and everybody respect that. And it's very interesting. I never expect that this rule exists, but it was.
So interesting. Oh, I have a question just popped up into my mind. Did you change anything after observing an athlete or a team at the competition venue or during the competition in your athletes or your own training and preparation?
So, I have experience in international participation in coaching starting from 2000, I guess. Well, so I can't now remember what I changed. Yes, because it was like building in my mind. But definitely the flow in the international competition must be more accurate and precise. For example, I don't know if it would be like 100% efficient if you will coach at the international competition alone, because someone must coach this person and someone must count the attempts, and don't forget to write down it at the secretary desk. And if you're alone, it's not possible. At the international competition, when you coach, you must come in advance, because it's possible that you can come on the platform and someone will steal your chair for your athlete. You can come and there is no chair, so you need to go look for it. And when you coach, you must be sure that you did everything for the comfortable environment of your athletes. That is why you must be in advance. You must be able, I believe, to talk to someone. So you need to know language, because it looks awkward when you see people from different countries, when you know to explain something to referees and they stressed about this. Like, we need scissors for athlete, and they start to show this. People don't understand what does it mean. You don't have time to run for the doctor, because sometimes doctor nearby the warm-up area, sometimes it absent, and so on and so on. And for this, you need all to have everything with you, or to be able to manage and explain.
Good advice. All right. You mentioned it a little bit with Team China, that there are some differences in how women and men train just before the competition. Would you have any other pointers?
So it's already, I would say now, it's a common fact since 2008, because it was written in a few scientific articles about the masculinization of sport, like Bud Cherniga wrote about this, that I believe that Team China started to do this first. When there is a competition warm-up for female, most of them finish last warm-up attempt in the warm-up area equal to the opener. And this is what a lot of female team did now. So for example, if women open 100 kilos on the platform, the last attempt that they do in warm-up area, it's 100 kilos as well. And this strategy showed it as a successful, because for mental toughness of women, it works. Because men, they can do the last set in the snatch, like 5-10 kilos less, in clean and jerk, it may be even 15. But for women, it worked best like this. And recently, I saw this very often in the competition. And North Korea, in Asia, they did the same. Mostly they finish, especially in snatch, the same that they open. And it works successfully. For example, some teams, like for example, North Korea, Iran, Uzbekistan, they use a lot of pre-competition activation massage. Like athlete come on the platform, lay down, and therapist start to do something with his arms. In North Korea, they mostly do warm-up. They walk on the athlete, Athlete is lying on the platform, and his teammate or coach, he barefoot, walking on his thighs, walking on his back. I mean, what I like a lot, I'm not sure if it's like proven effective or not, but Team Japan, yes, it was Team Japan, during the competition warm-up, they did a lot of unilateral exercise. For example, they did one leg Romanian deadlift. They did overhead squat with the plate holding in one arm. A girl was holding like 5-kilo plates and did just overhead squats for balancing and adjusting. And Team Japan did this a lot. It's their own know-how, or they did researches, I don't know, but this is what I saw. So a lot of things. And what is correct or incorrect, we don't know. We just can can pick up and try.
It's true.
Yeah, because most of the people that we see on the Asia, it's already super elite athlete.
Yeah. So that's sometimes a problem, because especially now where the content is coming from all major competitions apart from Olympics, we have this footage from training hall and even warm-up area. So we are able to observe what the elites are doing, and it's very tempting to then try to implement it in the program of a recreational weightlifter. So, and we can discuss what the recreational weightlifter is, but how do you think it is or it is not appropriate to implement or try some things we see in elite weightlifters than to our own training or training of our athletes at the local or national level?
My opinion in general, that the best way to test any methodology or any assumption is to try it in the competition way. If you say that this technique, lifting technique or training technique is workable, apply this to your athletes and bring him to the plot. And if it works, it means, if it brings result, it means that it works. The question is that if we have here Olympic medal and here is initial points, there is so many ways to come here. And some people use, we have Chinese school, we have Soviet school, we have Bulgarian school, we have like wherever school, and most of them have world and Olympic champions. So there is no answer what is right. The question is that if I'm a coach and I have my own philosophy, which are some part from here, some part from here, all the time, and my results will show, is it good or is it bad? Because I don't know if most people know that fact, but in Bulgaria, there is a cemetery, which is in Sofia. There is called, which is called Weightlifting Cemetery, where a lot of athletes are lay in the ground who are like younger than 50 years old. And there are a lot of people. But in the same time, we can say that Bulgarian methodology is one of the best and one of the most successful. Both are true fact. But the question is, like you said, should we or can we apply this training approach to recreational weightlifting, where the goal to recreate, to be healthy, to have a good level of wellness? Because it's like explanation about sport car. When you always drive sport car in red zone, the life of this car lifespan will be a little bit shorter than if you, in comparison, if you will drive this car for family needs. The question is, what is your goal? And probably if the goal recreational, I would have doubts.
Fair enough. Okay, one more question about maybe more about the competition and the use of smelling salt.
So what I used when I was a lifter, we didn't have salt. We had just ammonium fluid. So it was like water, and you would put on the napkin and then you smell. And very often we not only smelled it, but coach put it here on the neck and here, because your body was hot and because it's vaporized, you had like a cloud of this and you need to smell. You stand and you feel like it became more and more. Yeah, it's a nice trick. I very often do this. But yes, a lot of people use it. I wouldn't say that it's related to some countries. It's more related to athletes. Some use, some do not. But also what I saw that a lot of countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, they drink something. And I don't know what is this. It looks like a tea. I never tried it. I never heard any smell. But very often when athletes going on the platform, coach has some sort of bottle, and he, in a few minutes, like when athlete was called on the platform, they drink some. What is that? I don't know. But it's also a part of preparation. If it works, it works. And for example, you asked me about differences, such as country as Thailand, Vietnam, China, Indonesia. They always use a blanket, big, very big blanket that they cover athletes in between attempts. For example, in my country and in Soviet methodology, even during the training, regular training, it was not allowed for us to sit in between attempts. So we don't have this. We always walk, because coaches explained us that when you walk, recovery goes better. And when you sit, what we know now from office life, when you sit and you have angle in your hip 90 degrees, the blood flow is worse. So let's say I would agree that you can sit if you need, but you need to sit not in the regular pose, but more like in the plane with the stretched legs. But for example, in Team Italy, I don't like this and I disagree with this. The athlete, as soon as the bar started to fly down after the lift, before the bar will contact the land, they already sit. Like they lift, sit, lift, sit. When I was an athlete, I didn't have even chance. Even when I need to fix my laces on the weightlifting shoes, as soon as I'm done, coach like stand up and walk. What is right? I don't know. I prefer to walk. I advise to walk.
Well, but it may be, I don't know which one is better either, but whatever you practice with is probably better to just continue, just continue the routine you are having.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Whatever it brings results, go on. Lasha, you asked about the tradition and picking up any things from the elite athletes. Lasha, for example, when he rests, he always fully covers himself with a towel. So towels on the shoulders and on his eyes to just don't see people, which he probably hates. I don't know. I'm joking. Yeah. And he is always sitting, but in the same time, he is a world record holder. But what we discussed with Weightlifting House, as soon as Lasha appeared on the top of elite weightlifting, everybody started to see that before any snatches, he do very heavy muscle snatches. And then in 3 years, people started to copy this. So now, even when you come to the training hall, a lot of people, not just a 50-kilo muscle snatch to warm up, they go heavy, up to like heavy single, just to feel, just to try heavy bar. What is the reason of doing this by Lasha? His coach explained me. What is the reason why other people do? I don't know. I never asked. But I'm sure that this tradition became popular after Lasha.
So are you allowed to speak on it, or why Lasha is doing it?
His coach explained that this is one of the things to do a good bar path and to make the upper body tone and turn on muscle in the right order, because I love, as a coach, exercise muscle snatch, but I love it only if it performed well, meaning if you repeat the upper body work, how it looks like in a snatch, when you move your elbows up, when you move your forearm, and then you make perfect overhead position. But as soon as you start to do a heavy muscle snatch, very often for a lot of athletes, it looks like a standing bench press. When you do this and then you do that, and this, in my opinion, doesn't make any sense because it's totally opposite movement. And let's say Lasha doing muscle snatch and what we usually discuss with coaches, that in real competitive snatch, there is no movement when you pull the bar up. There is movement when you drop down and your upper body just repeat this pattern of the move, but there is no pulling movement with your strengths when you do snatch, because bar flying up and you going down. And this is a very important, like very small but very important aspect of the move, which, for example, recreational athletes whose technique is not on a such good level, they don't know, don't see, and don't apply correct.
That's the nuance. That's the nitty-gritty.
I can speak about this endless amount.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm enjoying it. I have a question. Do you have anything to say about, for example, Team Egypt?
I know in person very good Mohamed Ehab, who already done with his career, but he competed in the era of 2012, 2006. They have a very interesting training methodology, which is, let's say, mix of Bulgarian and some sort of hybrid training system, which is and the Qatar team trained the way that Egyptian team trained. So it's very intensive, and they have like 2 stages. What I heard from, for example, Mohamed Dahab, they have 2 stages of preparation of athlete during the career. First, it's a basic, which they apply mostly for the kids that used on GPP, that based on GPP training, plyometric work, and wide range of accessory exercises. And they do, let's say, a lot of weightlifting, bodybuilding. And as soon as these athletes come to the national level, they cut amount of exercises, same like in Bulgarian school. They had snatch, clean and jerk, quads. They use a lot of pulls. They use a lot of variation of snatch, push presses, and general push presses. But like main approach, that's go up to the heavy singles. For example, not not a lot of people know this case, but Mohamed Ehab, when he was in the good shape and he had to do a lot of overhead load, his wrist was so much in pain that first he put a sticky band on his wrist after this wrist straps, and only after this he was able to perform pressing movements, because the Mohamed Ehab never had the chance to press your hand strong when he said hello, because he was always in pain, but he had to leave because most approach in the training program was high intensity, and we know as soon as you are in the high intensity mandatory, you will be in pain, and this is life of weightlifter.
Of elite weightlifter.
Yeah, definitely. This statement about it.
Anything about Team Indonesia?
What you can see with your eyes immediately as soon as you are at the Asian Championship, that in the Asian Championship mostly include people way shorter than at the Europeans. So Asian athletes, mostly it's athletes from lightweight class, and it brings us a little bit different approach to the lifting, a little bit approach to the biomechanics, because, you know, for the person who is 2 meters high, like Man Assad from Syria, and person from Indonesia who will be like 1 meter 47 centimeters, it will be different biomechanics. And but in the same time, if we speak about Rahmat or Ritsky, I would say that they stand apart of all other athletes, even in Team Indonesia, because it's different coaching styles and different methodologies. But I am happy that I was able to see Rahmat training with my own eyes, because definitely him and Ritsky are wonder boys. They live with the like different law of the physics and with the different law of the Olympic weightlifting, because they're unique. And I can say honestly that I assume that Rahmat, he is a genius, because he is always inside of himself. He is super focused. He is super calm. Whatever what's going on, he calm as a turtle. Nothing is going on. People running, people nervous. And it's so interesting to see, for example, his lifting, because I would say below 70%, he's lifting so low and so weak. And then he feels like my movement is adjusted. I feel myself good, and he like in manual transmission. Next stage, and then miracles start to be shown. I would love to see him on and I wish him Olympic gold medal at this Olympics. I would vote for him, and I wanted to see battle him, Sergii, Dion, and all other.
Let's sum up. So 3 most important things for the person who is going to the first international competition. Your points: 3, second place, first place to take care of.
Third place, have a strategy. Second place, be ready that everything will go wrong. And first one, manage your expectation and reality. I think if it's your first international competition, you shouldn't set a goal for you to do something incredible. I think you should set a goal for yourself to get experience, get successful experience, and have fun. Because everything that happened first time in our life, like first school, first love, first sex, first competition, preferably to get a good experience from this than to say like, I competed one time in my life at the international competition, and it was totally disaster, and all was shitty. I think, but I assume it must be responsibility of the coach to prepare athlete for this. This is my advice.
Awesome. Last 2 short questions. The first one is, what is your favorite color?
Red. And why do you ask this?
Because how this interview started is from me reading articles and then having questions to the researchers who have written the articles. And how Evidence Strong on Instagram started was with infographics. So infographics have to have some colors on them. So I thought, if I'm making the infographic for the study already, I might as well make it in the color the person who have done the study likes. So that's how it started. And now it's just a tradition of the show. So I ask everyone on the show what is their favorite. And the last question is where people can find you on the internet if they want to connect or they want to see what you're up to.
I welcome warmly everyone to join my Instagram. It's called Putsoff. Putsov. My last name is Putsov with the we at the end, but I just made off to have fun. Also, I invite everyone to visit the website tarakti.com. We have a lot of programming, and what is more important, a lot of useful articles in blog mostly for recreational athletes. We have two media channels. It's Tark T Media and Tark T Channel, where we post and training tips and media content related to international competition. And for people who know me or don't know me, if you have any questions related to training in weightlifting, in strength and conditioning, you're always welcome to contact me just in direct in Instagram, because for people who know this, I answer and reply to 100%, because I believe that our mission, if we coach here, to make weightlifting better, and I love it very much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure as well. Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękuję.